Europe is home to some of the most historically rich and culturally vibrant countries in the world. Yet many of them are experiencing dramatic population declines. From economic struggles to mass emigration, entire nations are shrinking at an alarming rate. Today, we're counting down the 10 European countries where people are leaving in record numbers or simply aren't being born at the same rate as before. By 2050, some of these places could see their populations reduced by over 20%. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more engaging content. Let's explore why. Number 10. Italy. Italy. With one of the world's lowest birth rates, Italy's population is projected to decline significantly, impacting its economic future. Italy's declining population has become a national crisis, with birth rates hitting record lows. In 2025, the fertility rate stands at just 1.2 children per woman, far below the replacement level of 2.1, according to ISTAT. This means fewer young people are entering the workforce to replace retirees. Economic challenges are another major factor. Youth unemployment remains high, hovering around 22%, forcing many young Italians to seek better opportunities abroad. The rising cost of living, especially in cities like Milan and Rome, has also discouraged family growth. Italy's aging population is placing an enormous strain on social services. With over 23% of the population over 65, the burden on pensions and healthcare is growing unsustainable. This imbalance raises concerns about who will support the elderly in the coming decades. Mass immigration has also played a role in Italy's shrinking population. Many young Italians have moved to Germany, the UK, and the US for better-paying jobs. In the last decade alone, over 1.3 million Italians have left the country, according to Eurostat. Rural areas are feeling the impact the most. Entire villages in regions like Calabria and Sicily are being abandoned, with homes left empty and local economies collapsing due to the lack of people. Some towns have even resorted to selling houses for as little as £1 to attract new residents. Despite government incentives, including cash bonuses for having children and tax breaks for families, Italy's population decline continues. Experts warn that by 2050, Italy could lose up to 10 million people, significantly altering the country's economic and social landscape. If Italy doesn't reverse this trend, it could face long-term economic stagnation, making its recovery even harder in the future. Number 9. Poland. Poland. Despite economic growth, Poland is experiencing a population decrease due to low birth rates and emigration. Poland has seen rapid economic development in recent years, but this hasn't been enough to stop people from leaving. Since joining the EU in 2004, over 2.5 million Poles have emigrated, primarily to the UK, Germany, and the Netherlands, according to Statista. One of the biggest reasons for depopulation is Poland's record low fertility rate of 1.3 children per woman, well below the replacement level. The high cost of raising children, coupled with job insecurity, has discouraged many young couples from starting families. Poland's workforce is shrinking fast, and this could have devastating consequences for the economy. The country is already facing a labor shortage, with industries like manufacturing and healthcare struggling to find workers. Rural areas are emptying out as young people flock to cities like Warsaw and Krakow. But even urban centers aren't immune to depopulation. With an aging population and fewer young people to support them, Poland's pension system is under immense pressure. Government efforts to boost birth rates, such as the 500-plus child benefit program, have failed to reverse the trend. Despite financial incentives, birth rates continue to fall, and many women are choosing careers over parenthood. Immigration has not compensated for the losses. While Poland has taken in over 1 million Ukrainian refugees, most of them are temporary residents who plan to return home eventually. Unless Poland finds a way to keep its young workforce and encourage family growth, its future economic stability will be at serious risk. Number 8. Portugal. Portugal faces demographic challenges with a shrinking workforce and an aging population, leading to population decline. Portugal's population is rapidly aging, with over 23% of its residents now over the age of 65, according to poor data. This has created a demographic imbalance that threatens the country's long-term economic stability. The fertility rate in Portugal is one of the lowest in Europe, at just 1.4 children per woman. Many young couples are postponing or foregoing having children due to economic concerns, unstable jobs, and high living costs. Emigration has further worsened the situation. Since the 2008 financial crisis, over 500,000 Portuguese citizens have left the country, mainly heading to France, the UK, and Switzerland for better job opportunities. The government has attempted to address this crisis by introducing pro-natalist policies, including cash bonuses for families with children and tax breaks. However, these incentives have had little impact so far. Portugal has also been attracting digital nomads and expats through programs like the Golden Visa, which offers residency to foreign investors. But while these efforts have brought in some newcomers, they haven't been enough to counteract the overall population decline. A shrinking workforce means fewer taxpayers contributing to social security and healthcare systems, which is unsustainable in the long run. As more retirees outnumber workers, public finances could become severely strained. If current trends continue, Portugal's population could decline by over 20% by 2050, leaving entire regions underpopulated and economically stagnant. Number 7. Greece. Greece's economic hardships have contributed to a declining population, as both birth rates drop and emigration increases. Greece's economic struggles over the past decade have had a devastating impact on its population. The country's financial crisis forced over 500,000 Greeks, mostly young professionals, to leave for better opportunities abroad, particularly in Germany, the UK, and the US, according to Eurostat. The fertility rate in Greece has plummeted to 1.3 children per woman, far below the replacement level of 2.1. With high unemployment rates, particularly among young people, many couples are choosing not to have children, further accelerating population decline. Another major issue is the aging population. Over 22% of Greeks are aged 65 or older, placing enormous pressure on the country's social security and healthcare systems. Fewer workers means less tax revenue, leading to funding shortages for essential services. Rural areas have been hit the hardest, with many villages in regions like Epirus and Thessaly becoming virtually deserted. Schools and hospitals have closed due to a lack of residents, leaving only the elderly behind. To combat the decline, the Greek government has introduced incentives such as tax cuts for large families and financial aid for new parents. However, these policies have yet to produce significant results. The rising cost of living and slow wage growth continue to drive young Greeks away. Many prefer to build their futures in other EU nations where job security and wages are better. Unless Greece finds a way to reverse these trends, its population could shrink by more than 6% by 2050, drastically altering its workforce and economy. Number 6. Romania. Romania, with a combination of low birth rates and high immigration, Romania's population has been steadily decreasing. Romania is experiencing one of the fastest population declines in the world. Since 1990, the country has lost over 4 million people, largely due to emigration and low birth rates, according to Romanian National Institute of Statistics. Millions of Romanians have left for Western Europe in search of better job opportunities, with Germany, Italy, and Spain being top destinations. Many are young professionals or skilled workers, which has led to labor shortages back home. Romania's fertility rate stands at 1.4 children per woman, one of the lowest in Eastern Europe. Economic uncertainty and a struggling healthcare system have discouraged family growth. Rural areas have been hit the hardest by depopulation. Entire villages in Transylvania and Moldavia have been abandoned, leaving behind ghost towns with only elderly residents. The Romanian government has tried to incentivize young people to stay by increasing wages and offering family benefits, but these measures have yet to slow the rate of emigration. Despite being one of the fastest-growing economies in Eastern Europe, Romania's shrinking workforce is becoming a serious problem. Employers are now looking to foreign workers from Asia to fill labor shortages. If Romania continues to lose its young workforce, its economy could face severe long-term consequences, making recovery increasingly difficult. Number 5. Croatia. Croatia, facing a declining population due to low fertility rates and immigration. Croatia is among the European countries experiencing significant depopulation. Croatia has been losing people at an alarming rate. Since joining the EU in 2013, over 500,000 Croatians have emigrated, mainly to Germany, Austria, and Ireland, according to Croatian Bureau of Statistics. The fertility rate remains critically low at 1.4 children per woman, and the trend shows no sign of reversing. Many young people delay starting families due to job insecurity and low wages. Like many other countries on this list, Croatia's aging population is a growing concern. More than 21% of its citizens are over 65, and the lack of young workers threatens economic stability. Depopulation is especially visible in rural areas and small towns. Some villages in eastern Croatia have seen their populations shrink by over 50% in just 2 decades, with entire communities disappearing. The Croatian government has attempted to attract young people back by offering financial incentives, including cash payments for families and tax breaks for returning expatriates. However, the impact has been minimal. Tourism has kept the economy afloat, but seasonal jobs in hospitality do not provide stable long-term employment for most citizens. Many opt to leave for higher wages abroad. If the current trend continues, Croatia's population could drop below 3 million by 2050, putting its economy and infrastructure under severe pressure. Number 4. Ukraine. Ukraine. Ongoing conflicts and economic challenges have accelerated population decline, with significant reductions observed over the past decade. Ukraine has suffered one of the steepest population declines in Europe, largely due to war and economic instability. Since 1991, the country has lost over 10 million people, according to State Statistics Service of Ukraine. The ongoing conflict has driven millions of Ukrainians to seek refuge in neighboring countries such as Poland and Germany. In 2025, over 5 million Ukrainians remain displaced, making it one of the largest migration crises in modern European history. Ukraine's fertility rate has dropped to 1.2 children per woman, one of the lowest globally. Many couples are postponing or avoiding having children due to uncertainty about the future. The economic situation remains unstable, with inflation and job scarcity forcing young professionals to seek opportunities abroad. As a result, Ukraine has one of the fastest shrinking workforces in the world. Entire towns in eastern Ukraine have been abandoned due to war, with some areas losing over 40% of their population since 2014. These ghost towns symbolize the ongoing humanitarian crisis. The Ukrainian government has launched repopulation initiatives, including housing incentives and financial aid for returning citizens. However, until stability is restored, mass emigration will likely continue. Experts predict that by 2050, Ukraine's population could shrink by another 10 million, making it one of the fastest declining nations in Europe. Number 3. Latvia. Latvia. Similar to its Baltic neighbors, Latvia anticipates a population decrease of over 20% by 2050 due to low birth rates and emigration. Latvia has been struggling with population loss for decades. Since 1990, the country has lost 1/3 of its population, mainly due to emigration, according to Latvian Central Statistical Bureau. Many young Latvians have moved to Western Europe, particularly the UK and Germany, in search of higher wages. With a fertility rate of 1.5 children per woman, birth rates remain too low to replace those leaving. The economy, while improving, still lacks high-paying jobs that encourage young people to stay. Rural regions, in particular, have been hollowed out, with some villages nearly abandoned. To combat this crisis, the Latvian government has introduced policies like tax breaks for families and incentives for skilled workers to return. However, emigration still outpaces natural population growth. Despite being a relatively developed country, Latvia is facing an aging population crisis. More than 20% of its citizens are over 65, putting pressure on healthcare and pensions. If current trends persist, Latvia's population could drop below 1 million by 2050, making it one of the fastest shrinking countries in Europe. Number 2. Lithuania. Lithuania. Experiencing significant emigration, Lithuania is expected to see a population reduction exceeding 20% by 2050. Lithuania has one of the fastest shrinking populations in Europe. Since joining the EU in 2004, the country has lost over 1/4 of its population, largely due to emigration, according to Eurostat. Most emigrants have moved to the UK, Germany, and Ireland in search of better wages and job stability. With an aging population and a fertility rate of 1.4 children per woman, Lithuania's workforce is rapidly declining. The economic recovery following the 2008 financial crisis helped some sectors, but wages remain lower than in Western Europe. This wage gap continues to drive young Lithuanians abroad, worsening the population decline. Rural areas have been hit especially hard, with some villages losing over 50% of their population in the past 2 decades. Many schools, businesses, and hospitals have closed due to a lack of residents. To combat this crisis, the Lithuanian government has introduced financial incentives, such as tax breaks and subsidies for families. But the impact has been minimal so far. The government is also trying to attract Lithuanian expatriates back, but few have returned. Despite strong economic growth, Lithuania's shrinking workforce is becoming a major concern. Employers are struggling to fill positions, forcing the country to consider foreign labor solutions. If the current trend continues, Lithuania's population could decline by another 20% by 2050, making it one of the fastest declining nations in Europe. Number 1. Bulgaria. Bulgaria, projected to lose over 20% of its population by 2050. Bulgaria faces one of the steepest declines globally. Bulgaria is at the top of the list when it comes to population decline, with projections showing that the country could lose over 20% of its population by 2050, according to World Bank. Mass immigration has been a major driver of this decline. Since 1989, over 2 million Bulgarians have left for better opportunities in Germany, the UK, and Spain, shrinking the population significantly. The fertility rate in Bulgaria remains critically low at 1.5 children per woman, and combined with a rapidly aging population, this has led to a shrinking workforce and economic stagnation. Many small towns and villages have been abandoned entirely, leaving behind ghost towns. Rural depopulation has been so severe that some municipalities offer cash incentives for families to move in, but with little success. Economic instability and low wages continue to push young professionals out of the country. Despite Bulgaria's EU membership, many citizens prefer to work abroad due to significantly higher salaries. The government has tried to introduce measures to slow the decline, such as increasing child benefits and offering tax incentives to returning Bulgarians. But the problem persists. If the current trends continue, Bulgaria will likely experience one of the most severe population collapses in Europe, raising concerns about its long-term economic and social stability. From Bulgaria's mass emigration crisis to Italy's record low birth rates, these European countries are shrinking at an alarming rate. Economic struggles, aging populations, and high emigration rates are reshaping the future of these nations. If these trends continue, some of these countries could see millions of people disappear by 2050, leaving behind empty villages, struggling economies, and uncertain futures. Which of these countries surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and explore Globe Discoveries for more eye-opening insights into the world's biggest trends and crises. Thank you for watching.